Small compact SUVs with luxury and a blend of turbo performance is what we're bringing to you today. The 2022 Infiniti QX50 Sensory in your Hermosa blue. The interior of this is going to have all the bells and whistles with a price tag that just hits a little bit over $50,000. Who are we going against? BMW X3, Audi Q5, Volvo XC40, the list goes on and on. But when you're comparing this to the rivals, the engineering was over 20 years for the VC turbocharged engine, which gives you a better compression ratio, better gas consumption. When you're going on your everyday, it's as a 4-cylinder turbo diesel, and when you need to give it some throttle, it'll be almost like a V6 powered, and it's the only vehicle of its kind in the luxury brand. Is this the better value, or is it better to go to the alternative? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over all the specs and details starting now. The new Infiniti QX50 definitely has a presence of performance, and that's what they keep in mind. So if you're comparing it to the Mercedes GLB, that's going to be more of a box structure, similar to a mini G-Wagon. This would be more comparable to your BMW X3. Your Audi Q5, I would say, would match this one almost perfectly because of the way the hood proportion lays out, and it goes into your signature LED daytime runnings, LED headlamps that brushes into your air vents on the side and your LED fog lamp. Ground clearance that's better than the alternative. A wide face double arch grille, deeper diamond mash adds a more aggressive feel to the sophisticated personality. Comparing this to the QX55, this is going to be a little bit more traditional, whereas that one's going to be a little bit more sporty. Fenders flare out the matte black that's going over these 20-inch multi-spoke alloy wheels. The front disc read at 13 inches, the rear at 12.1, both ventilated. McPherson front suspension with coil springs over shock absorbers and a stabilizer bar. The rear, a multi-link with a stabilizer bar. And the line proportions just flow into these LED tail lamps with the chrome bar that goes over the Infiniti badging. You'll have the side gills that are going to add those reflectors with dual exhaust outlets, silver that's going around it, a lower spoiler roof line with the gloss black over it, and the silver over your roof rails, the signature touch for Infiniti with the silver that's going to be around your window casing, the gloss black in between, with all the latest tech and safety with the athletic proportion, towing at 3,000 pounds, weighing just a little bit over 4,000 pounds, a length at 184.7 inches with a wheelbase at 110.2 inches, 5941 weight distribution, power tailgate to go inside to your cargo that starts at 31.1 cubic feet. We have a 12-volt charger. Underneath the floor is some more storage. The rear bench easily folds from the cargo at a 60-40 split. That's gonna max the cargo to 64.4 cubic feet, which is going to be more than the QX55, the Audi Q5, and the Volvo XC40. VC turbocharged engine. Let's go inside, start it up, so you can hear that exhaust note. The new Infiniti QX50 definitely has enough of an exhaust outlet to make it sound pretty decent, especially on the highway, which you'll see on the drive. But the things that really stand out is the engineering behind it, and they back the performance with a VC turbocharged 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine, producing 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to a CVT transmission, achieving 23 to 29 mpgs. That's good for a 0 to 60 in the mid 6 seconds, which is basically the same as your BMW X3. The Audi, Q5 will be the fastest in the line or the comparison. The Mercedes-Benz is a touch faster, but this is pretty much the same exact vehicle, just badged with Mercedes. The savings that you'll get with this is insane, because if you get the GLB and you do the AMG Night package, you're looking at a 55 to 60 grand price tag. This nearly fully loaded is still saving you $2,000 to $3,000. You're getting a quarter mile at 15.3 seconds with the top speed at 140 miles per hour. So the styling for the athletic, luxury, smaller, compact SUVs, I kind of like where I'm going at. Which one is the best? Let me know in the comments what you think about the 2022 Infiniti QX50 as we go into the interior, go over the tech, and take this for our test run. Entering inside the Infiniti QX50, you're going to receive over 40 inches of headroom and over 39 inches of legroom. Comparing this to the rivals, you actually have just as much space in the front as the Mercedes. You're going to have more than the BMW, more than the Volvo, more than the Audi, and we get 12-way power adjustments. They're heated, they're ventilated. It's a wheat on black leather with the perforated interior. I do wish there was some badging because this is a luxury vehicle. The dashboard though, I do like how it circles around you with the aluminum inlays from the door panel that brush into the dashboard. Aluminum goes around all of your air vents. Matte black is going to be encased inside with the soft materials for the top. It's going to be more flat with that contrast stitching, a heads-up display which is large, and with polarized glasses you can kind of sort of still see it, which you can't do that in any of the rivals. Now the infotainment screens are going to be not necessarily the biggest in this comparison. The upper is 8, the lower is 7. We have it on Apple CarPlay. You do not have any pinch capabilities, and Apple CarPlay does not actually have that, but you do have the swipe. Push it into the map. Now we have our navigation, pinch, swipe, standard Wi-Fi hotspot, voice recognition. It doesn't have gesture or anything like BMW. The lower, that's the 7-inch. You can just click onto the Apple CarPlay and it'll put it right on the fly. Push into your driver assist that has all of your safety packages that's in this tier that we have. Click your audio so you can see we have Apple CarPlay that is wireless for this year. That's new. We have Android Auto, AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth streaming capabilities, dual climate control settings, and we have button functionality on the side. Switch it to reverse, 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory. You can change the modes to it so you can see different areas or positions of where the car is to make it easier for your reversing. So what I do like about this is everything is pretty seamless and easy because there's not necessarily a lot going on in the infotainment. Open up inside here, you got 2 USB ports, a 12-volt and a large storage tray. 2 cup holders. I would say you can fit about a 20 ounce without any issues. The gear lever, I do like how it sits because it also can act as a palm rest. You have your driver mode select, which will change it to your eco, and you can change it to standard or sport or your personal. You have your auto hold, so that way you don't have to hold the brake at a stoplight. Open up inside here, another USB port. This is a large storage compartment compared to the rivals. You're going to get some more storage. It's a little bit more firm and sporty, and this is a little bit more driver focused. So if you're sitting in the passenger seat, you're going to feel that little wall, but you do have the rotary knob that is easy access for the passenger. Steering wheel, 3-spoke multi-function, paddle shifters, contrast stitching. I do not like the stock on the left because it's just basically an empty stock just to turn your turn signals on, and I get it, you need that. It just maybe don't put everything on the right side. The gauge cluster has a digital reader in the center that can go through an array of information. It also shows your variable compression turbo, and it does it on the fly. So you can see your compression ratio and your boost for the PSI, which is something that you may want to look at whenever you're driving or going a little bit faster. You can do your navigation and you can see your speed on there. For the door panel, soft materials, contrast stitching, that aluminum, memory for the driver, premium Bose upgraded sound system, one touch up and down for all the windows, dual pane for the front. Storage panel is large. It is pretty much the largest in the class except for the XC40. This one is very comparable, except you got more storage here in the center, a large pano roof. Let's see how we look in the back. For the back seats, I'm at 38.4 inches of headroom, 38.7 inches of legroom. Because this isn't the QX55, I actually get about 2 inches more headroom, plus we get more cargo space. And the nice thing is you can adjust these forward, where I can't sit as you're seeing, and You can also recline these back to make it a little bit more luxurious for your back seats. One thing you're missing when you go to this trim, the Autograph will add a third climate control. Here we have your heated seats, 2 USB ports, your air vents in the center, storage behind both of the front seats. Elbows are going to be more soft in the center, more sporty on the door panel, with harder materials on the top, but it still feels soft to the touch with the aluminum inlays, your Bose upgraded sound system, the one touch up and down, and the storage pocket is not going to be as large as the XC40. Here you're going to lose some storage capacity, but it's still going to be more than the Audi, than the BMW, and the Mercedes-Benz. See how I look in the center. Sitting into the center, headroom is no issue, nor is legroom. I'm going to be sharing feet, shoulder, butt space because it's not so wide as it is on the exterior. So when you are getting this, 3 adults, 6'3", my dimensions can fit. For a long journey, it's not going to be so desirable. But what I do like about the Infiniti line is the fact that everyone can still fit. You have plenty of charging ports. You could feel the air circulate all around you. The large pano moonroof comes behind my head. It's not as wide as I would like it. Taking the 2022 Infiniti QX50 out for our test run. 268 horsepower with 280 pound-feet of torque. The VC turbocharged engine is definitely something that is very impressive. Over 20 years in the making, and the fact that it has the power underneath it. I do like how in the gauge cluster you can also read the actual compression ratio. So whenever you're doing your racing or you're really trying to get optimal gas consumption, you can do that and you're still sporting a luxury drive. It is also a lot more quiet and refined. There's not necessarily a lot of changes other than the wireless Apple CarPlay. When you compare this to the rivals at the same spec, fully loaded with all the same features, you're going to be saving at least $5,000 to $10,000, and it doesn't matter which way you cut the cookie. If you go to the Audi line, it can even be a substantial more depending if you go to the 45 or the 55. The drive over tile road, it is pretty smooth. You're gonna feel some of the bumps obviously, but that's in pretty much every vehicle. 0 to 60 in the mid 6 seconds. That is very impressive because this is a 4-cylinder turbocharged, and the way the turbo is where it goes into a 4-cylinder diesel when you're not pushing it hard, or a regular V6 when you're pushing it hard, which is not like any of the other brands. Gonna put it into sport mode. We're gonna stop in the middle of the road so we can really see this VC turbocharged engine. Here we go. You get a little bit of that exhaust note. Front wheel drive vehicle, so you're going to get a little bit of slippage. It is wet outside, but for the most part it handled relatively well, and that was mashing the gas. So I mean, it has a fun factor to it, and because this gear lever, the way it sets, I mean, I feel very sporty, even though the infotainment screen is a little bit more dated than the rivals. I would like to see this a little bit more in my face because it's a little bit far, and that's really where it's gonna bring me to the 3 things I like and 3 things that I dislike. Is anything more than that, I'd be buying this QX50. So the 3 things that I like about it is you still have the sporty attributes because it is so athletic on the exterior, and they bring all those elements inside. So I like the way that they have the design, plus you have a smooth ride, and the technology is still the 21st century, even though the screens and the way everything is a little outdated, which we'll get to the alternative of the 3 things I dislike in a second. The second thing that I like about the vehicle is this is a blend of both worlds. So what I mean by that is it's smooth, it's something you can drive on a daily, plus optimal in gas consumption. I mean, 23 to 29 mpgs. When you're comparing this to the rivals, it's pretty good with that, and you would have to, again, spend a lot more money if you wanted to go into the XC40 for the recharge. You're looking at another $5,000 to $10,000. And yes, you're gonna get a lot better MPGs, and it's super quick. It actually beats most of the competition until you get into the BMW X3 M competition. It's just, again, you keep going 60, 70, $80,000. This is in the $50,000 price point. The last thing that I like about it is how quiet it is. You don't hear anything on a daily use. So when I change this into standard, listen. And this is with 20-inch wheels. So the fact that you're getting this much quietness, it's nearly or almost as quiet as an Audi. And I would say this is actually quieter than the Q5, When you get into the Q7 and Q8, that's a different story. Three things that I dislike has to start with this infotainment layout. It's not a lot going on and it is very easy and seamless. However, it's also too far. So it's almost like a two-tier because it should be maybe, I would say, 6 to 12 inches closer, because for touch purposes, I have to reach. And I'm not sitting back that far, because if I was, my elbows would be like this and not like this. The second thing that I dislike about the vehicle is the gauge cluster is still antique in the sense of comparing it to the rivals. Everything is starting to get digital, and it goes to a two-part tier to the second thing I dislike, is when you put the settings for the autopilot or the semi-autonomous driving, when it starts to let go, it starts weaving like this, and then it just beeps like a video game, and it just takes away from that luxury sound. The last thing that I dislike is this is one of the least in class for towing capabilities, the least in class for payload. It's not the slowest, but they threw a CVT transmission. I know it's a lot of things. We're gonna just pair it as one, because if they put an automatic transmission instead of a CVT, like an 8-speed, a 9-speed, like they usually do, this thing would be in the 5 seconds, 0 to 60, maybe even in the lower 5 seconds, because in the QX60, the same thing. They threw a CVT transmission. When they changed it this year for 2022, it's faster. Turn radius at more or less a stop point is gonna get about 2 lanes, and let's rock and roll. One thing that you have to adjust to with this one, because the VC turbocharged engine, when you push the throttle, you have so much of a hit back, it feels more than 280 pound-feet of torque. So it's a bit of a happy medium with the foot, and it will take some time to get used to. So if you're looking for something that's going to be easier to operate, all of the other vehicles in the competition pushing the throttle from a stop point will not necessarily have that leap feature, because of the way this is for the compression ratio to get you optimal gas consumption or more performance driven. The interior, they can do a little bit more touch-ups. The towing definitely needs to increase. Maybe changing the CVT transmission, you will still get decent gas consumption because of what's underneath the hood. Comparing this to the rivals, really not worried about service, it really doesn't matter. But if you are, this is hands down the best way to go. For maneuverability, it is top heavy, but you can see it doesn't necessarily feel that way because you are lower to the ground, which is a nice thing if you're looking for a little bit of that sport performance. The hood projects very aggressive, so I do like the sportness that is in the front, and I know where the front bumper is. Blind spot monitoring, we got pedestrian detection, rear cross traffic, every single thing you need. Power side mirrors with the turn signals that are LED. Looking in the back, not really any blind spot except for a little bit towards the cargo area. Because this is a smaller SUV, you have plenty of visibility, plus you have enough. I mean, just do this and you can pass what you need to pass. Thank you for watching today's review on the Infiniti QX50 2022. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, click the next video, the subscribe button, check out the details, merchandise, website, and everything we do here at Hawkeye Rides.